Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Chosen by the Universe. I'm your girl, Isadora, and we are here with podcast episode 2. Today's podcast is going to be titled, this is a good one. It's going to be titled, You Are Who You Want to Be. Man, my husband said that to me this morning. I had a whole different plan for the podcast. But out of all the words he said, those words stuck to me. And it stuck to me because, as divine feminine, we are always in this state of transformation. I feel like when you first begin your spiritual journey, you think that, this is just part of the process. Okay, this is just a phase, right? But what I've learned throughout, my path and, my ascension is that transformation is constant. It's not something that you go through for a small period of time. It's not something that occurs at divine timing, right? Don't get me wrong, timing is everything. However, it's a constant state of mind. And it makes sense if you actually think about it because, life, not life, but I would say the people around us are constantly changing, and it only makes sense for us to change, right? To grow. And it's like we go through, our ages, we as we get older, every year should be different, right? When we were 6, we're not the same as when we're 10. When we're 10, we're not the same as when we're 12. When we're 12, we're not the same as when we're 16, right? And I don't think that there's a cap until you reach maybe like a senior age, maybe until you actually have completely discovered who you are and you're living you're living your truth, do I think that, maybe you could pause the transformation. But even then they have this, what do they call that when women, or even men, when they go through when they are older and they go through a transformation? Oh, a midlife crisis. See, it's so crazy because we're so caught up in the mindset that we have to be these constant beings. We have to be the same person, even in a relationship, we have to be that same person you met, in the beginning. But in reality, that's unrealistic because it's not natural to be constant for a human. Maybe for animals, and even for animals, actually, because, as I don't know if you guys know this, but I want to get my bunny. I'm waiting 4 weeks to get my bunny. I'm like a bunny crazy lady right now. But even rabbits, they say, in the beginning, they're so, they can be sweet, because they are prey animals. However, as they get old age, they just don't want to be touched, and it's kind of like a constant thing with rabbits. And I think and so that makes sense with humans. But this whole thing where, you are who you want to be, it's so powerful because, I think a lot of us, like I said, a lot of us are always in this constant state of transformation. And so with that, we could trick ourselves into thinking that we haven't made progress, right? We'd be like, well, we're not where we want to be, so we're not, and it can kind of mess our minds up. It could really make us feel like we've done all this work for nothing. But in reality, just the state of mind, this having the mindset to be different, to do different, is powerful. And that itself is part of the transformation. For instance, right now, okay, I'm trying to lose my baby weight. Okay. Before the baby, I was like, 140 something. I'm 5'8", so I was pretty slender. And now I'm like, I was 190, which is, pretty heavy, almost 200 pounds. That's a lot of extra weight on. But I've been losing it very slowly, so now I'm down to like 187, and that's been like consistent for like a couple weeks now. But anyway, So I've been thinking about like, well, personally, I've just been eating healthy. My family's getting over it because they're like for instance, last night, what was for dinner? Kale. Like what? That's all? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's like I want to feed my family healthy food. And it really, honestly, with me trying to lose weight, I try not to push it on them. It's more so me, like I'll skip some meals. I'll be mindful of what I'm eating, you know. But as far as the food I feed them, it's because I just want them to be healthy and I want them to live. And it's something that is going on to me with me spiritually as far as what I'm putting in my body. You know, that's a spiritual transformation, and it's happening in my husband too. This guy, let me just tell you, this guy comes in here every day and says he can't eat anything. It's the most, and actually that's a major reason why I just made kale. So the other day he comes in, he's like, honey, everything's bad for you. I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, no, like even healthy stuff. I'm like, okay, wait, let's talk about this. So he's like, beans. I can't eat beans unless they're pressure cooked. Because, you know, the 4 raw beans will kill you. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, yeah, I know that. Like, that's why you have to soak them overnight. You can't, you know, like, it's like, I kind of knew that. But, and then I'm like, okay, so what else? He's like, you cannot eat tomatoes. Tomatoes are poison. You can't eat grains. Grains aren't meant to eat. He's like, you can't eat nuts. I'm done with peanuts. The only nuts that are really real are like walnuts and pistachios and macadamia nuts. He's like, I can't eat any more grains because that night I actually had made some quinoa and red cabbage. And what I made, quinoa, red cabbage, and like some vegetarian like little fried meat things. And so he's like, yeah, I can't eat that. And he's like, oh, I can't eat this bread. So he's like, basically, he can't eat anything. Like, he's like, oh, and you know what? You're not supposed to have fruit you're only supposed to have fruit in the fall and summer. So unless it's like blueberries and raspberries. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, so you don't want to eat anything, basically, is what you're telling me. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll make some kale for dinner. And then it's like, kale? Like, huh? It's like, dude, you just said you won't eat beans, we don't eat meat, and you don't want fruit. He's tired of me making sweet potatoes. This guy doesn't like sweet potatoes or mushrooms or avocado, which is crazy. How can you be a vegetarian and don't eat mushrooms and avocado? I mean, those are like my 2 favorite things in the world. Crazy. But long story short, it's like, it's like, what do you want from me? But it's like, even him, I see a bit of myself in him, which is very rare because I usually don't see myself in him. Only in the sense it's like our twin flame union and seeing, you know, some of the things I've gone through, him going through, or our lives have kind of been parallel, even though we're, you know, always have been at different stages in our lives. But it's so funny because I'm like, okay, you're trying to be different. You're trying to transform. And I think this type of transformation is hard for him. And I guess it's hard for me too. Okay. I think it's not hard for me as far as my personal self, but it's hard for me for him to go through a change. I'm so used to him being the way that he is that I've kind of been complaining that he's trying to ascend. And I'm starting to feel bad about it. You know, it's like he stopped drinking. He just focuses completely on work. And, you know, I feel like I've been kind of judging him and being really harsh with him because for me, you know, with him being a Libra and me being a Cancer, okay, if you know anything about that, and mind you guys, I have a Scorpio moon and a Pisces rising. Okay, so I'm like watered the heck up. Like most of my chart actually is water. I have a little bit of air and fire. Definitely barely have earth, I swear. Like that's what's wrong with me. That's why I'm always in the, like flying high in the sky. I need to be grounded. Anyway. So, yeah, I've kind of been judging his ascension because I'm like, why can't you just be fun? Why can't you be who, like, I know you to be? But after speaking with him this morning, it's like that part of him is only present when he's under the influence. And then it's like for him to tell me, okay, well, guess I'm just going to start drinking again. Like, that hurt me. I'm like, dang, Sid, like, that's crazy. You want to like you're pushing your partner to the point where he wants to go back to drink to make you happy because he loves you. And I'm just like, I can't do that. It's not cool. And the reason why I brought this up in the podcast is because I think it's important to understand other people's transformation. Like I said, you are who you want to be. So if I want to be this, the energy in which I try to ascend to is that of the Queen of Pentacles. That is my end game goal. That is who I want to be. That's exactly who I want to be. I want to be seen as a person who is abundant in all aspects of her life. I want her to be grounded. I want to be grounded, should I say. I want to be a great mother. I want to be the queen of my home. That is who I aspire to be. And part of being that is being a great wife, being a good woman. And my husband's like, he's like, you changed, not me. Like, I'm like, and I guess he doesn't see his ascension, but I do. But it's like, he's like, you're changing. And it's like, okay. And then he left after that. He had to run out of town and stuff. But after he said that, I kind of just like pondered on it, and I'm thinking like, yeah, I am changing. Like I used to be so comfortable just being free and loving and carefree and like, and he's like, that's what I loved about you. And I'm thinking like, yeah, now I feel like I've turned myself into someone else to, I guess, better deal with his new version of himself. It's very confusing. I know I'm being confusing right now, but the main thing is that I have to remember and I have to remain in my power and continue to move forward with the strength and with the energy of who I want to be, because it all starts, every day I get closer and closer to my end goal. However, every day I become her more and more and more and more. And it's up to me to keep that level of integrity and keep that level of love and, realize that it's not all about me. And that there are some things that I could do to make my life, I don't know the right word, make my relationship more loving, And the reason why I'm using my relationship as an example for today's podcast is because, like I said, my husband's transforming, and I'm not used to that. I'm really freaking not. And I see like this is what happens in relationships, and I see it. I've never actually have gone through this personally. It's like stuff I maybe have saw on television where it's like, oh, like we outgrew each other or things like that. But me and my husband are not outgrowing each other. We're like, he's transforming and I'm transforming, but I'm transforming in a different way. Yeah. So sorry. But yeah, I'm using us as an example because it's like, well, no, not even that. But I feel like, people outgrow each other and stuff, and we're not going to outgrow each other. We're just both changing. And I honestly, it's a positive change. It's a divinely guided change. And I see that, and I'm ready for it, and I want to move forward. And I guess I was questioning like, okay, like, what is it about me that is like, who am I? Like I was telling him, like, I feel like I've lost myself because I have transformed so much and I follow my divine guidance, and it's like, and I follow my husband. It's like I've changed and I don't know how to be this new person. And I don't know who this new person is. At least and he's like, you know what? You're a nurse. You nurse people. And I translated that into like, I nurture people. because I am in school getting my bachelor's for nursing, and it is something he was explaining to me, like how I nurse him, how I nurse the kids, like if he's hurt, I'm like on it. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And it's like, but I know that is something I have manifested. I know it is something that I want. However, I don't feel and this is me, and I would love to hear you guys' feedback, but I honestly don't feel like a job is who you are. I always thought a job is what you do. Who you are cannot be determined by any outside source other than your inner self. And so I had to realize that yes, he's right, but yes, he's wrong. Who I am is actually who I am every day. And it's not up to me. Well, it's not up to me, but I didn't mean to say that. What I mean is I don't have to label, tag. I don't have to label myself. I don't have to put myself under a category, because who I aspire to be is not one person. Yes, I would like to walk around with the essence of love, and you could say, okay, she's love, but I'm not always love, right? I really feel like who I aspire to be is every woman. I want to be everything. I want to be the freak in the sheets. I want to be a amazing, loving, active, talkative mother. I want to be the center of attention, even though that can be looked down upon. That's just who I am. And it's not even something that I want. It's just like natural. I don't know. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good daughter. I want to have a bunch of plants. I want to feel free. You know, those are the things I want, and those are who I am. And I realize that it's not anything for me to really try, like, have like an end goal. I really feel like I am that person every day. As long as I remember what it is that I hold true to myself and what is important to me, I'll be able to move forward and know that, hey, the same person I was yesterday may not look like the same person I am today. However, the essence of those people, which are just me, are the same. And that's really what matters. So that's what I want you guys to have in your mind this week, is that you are who you want to be. Okay? So if any of you are going to school, working hard, you have set goals for yourself, try to take time and realize, okay, is this who I am? Or is this something I do? And depending on that answer, you look within and you figure out, who do I want to be? You know what I mean? And that's not something you have to share. It doesn't have to be public. You don't have to walk around telling people, I want to be this, I want to be that. No. But what it is it's a way of life. It's who you become at that very moment. The moment you put those thoughts in your head, or at that very same time, you are that person. And you act every day as if you are that person, because in reality, honey, you are. And I just thought that this topic is just so necessary, because, like I said, we're always in that transformation mindset, especially if you're spiritual. You're always trying to take the next step ahead. But I think that transformation is not really a right word, because what's truly happening within all of us is that we're simply just going within ourselves. We're just going with time, right? Like we're basically just being who we really are, who we want to be at that time, at that, at that place in time. Like when you're 10, you have different goals or things that are on your mind than when you're 20. And I get that. And I think transformation is just like an easier way to categorize that vibration. But in reality, it's just a constant state of just reevaluating who you are, and don't get me wrong. If you are what you do, that's okay. 'Cause that's passion, boo. Like, that is where, I wish I had passion in something that I think is worthy. Yes, I have passion in being a nurse, but I don't know. To me, that seems like a job. I can see I don't see, I mean, I don't want to say I see myself, but I see so many people who are nurses that are just like kind of negative and mean. And it's like that job, takes a lot out of them. And I wish I was passionate about something that, like, I guess I am passionate about like tarot and the divine and stuff. But at the same time, like, I feel like that is just the natural order of life. I don't know. And maybe that is my calling, and that's why I'm trying to be consistent with this, and I'm trying to be consistent with school, because this makes me happy. Having this conversation with you guys makes me happy, and my goal is to have well, not my goal, but what's going to happen is I'm going to be posting for the podcast every Wednesday, so that, I might post on Tuesday, but I want the real date for you guys to expect it is to be Wednesday. So, I might like record on Monday or Tuesday or even sometime during the week, but I'll do my edits and post it at least before Wednesday morning. Because I want to be consistent with it, because this really does make me happy. And maybe this is my passion and I just haven't accepted it because I don't find it to be an acceptable passion. And I feel like that's just judgment on my end, where it's like, I'm just judging myself a little too much, because, I always have said since the beginning that with readings and all that stuff, I've never want to charge people, because I am abundant in my personal life. And so I want to help people, be guided and make the right decisions and go where they need to go in this life, and allow me to be the vessel between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, and communicate anything that they need to know that is important to them in their ascension. And that's my goal, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the weather or what, but it just seems like, like a pause for us. Like, I feel like there's a pause. Like, I feel like it mentally, physically, emotionally, we're trying to ascend, but in our environment, it's like a pause, and that's okay. We just need to continue to remember and have that mindset that we are who we want to be, and who we want to be has always been within our souls and within our minds and within our bodies the whole time. Okay, well, you guys, I love you. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for another pod. With that, bye, you guys.